Hakan, who lives in a rented apartment with his friend Memo, wakes up early in the morning. He quickly wakes up Memo, urging him to get up fast. After getting ready, they head out to check a rental shop. They plan to open an antique shop, but they don't have enough money to rent it. To cover the cost, both work part-time jobs. Hakan is an orphan, adopted by Neşet, who owns a well-known antique shop in Istanbul's Grand Bazaar. Hakan goes to Neşet and starts arguing, insisting that he is starting a new business and needs money. Neşet, however, refuses to help, reminding him that he has already supported him twice before, and both businesses failed. Hakan, determined, assures him that this time his business will succeed. He just needs a little help to become a successful man. But Neşet doesn't budge and instead gives him a task: to deliver a carpet to a customer who had placed an order a few days ago. Hakan agrees and takes the carpet. Hakan arrives at a building to deliver the carpet and discovers that the customer is a stunning young woman who is about to leave the country soon. She tells him that she wants to enjoy herself before she leaves. Hakan quickly understands what she means, and the two have a good time together. As he is leaving the building, he notices a crowd gathered for an interview. Curious, he learns that it's for a security position at the company of Istanbul's renowned businessman, Faisal Erdem. Without thinking much, he fills out an application form and decides to try his luck. Hakan's interview is conducted by Faisal Erdem's chief secretary, Layla. She immediately points out that he has no qualifications and is completely unsuitable for the job. As they talk, Layla makes it clear that he is not capable of handling security in Faisal Erdem's highly successful business, as he doesn't even meet the basic educational requirements. With no other choice, Hakan leaves. As he steps outside, he notices a little girl in danger. A chandelier is about to fall on her, and without thinking, he rushes to save her. Faisal witnesses the whole scene and is impressed. He immediately instructs his most loyal associate, Mazhar, to find out more about this young man. Meanwhile, Faisal's main focus is on the restoration of the Hagia Sophia. In the evening, Hakan is at the antique shop with Neşet when a woman named Susan arrives, asking about a specific shirt. Neşet checks and tells her that he doesn't have it, but will look around nearby shops and let her know. Hakan suddenly interferes, claiming he saw the shirt in the back storage. Neşet immediately dismisses it, insisting that it's impossible and Hakan must be mistaken. Determined, Hakan offers to check again, but before he can, Neşet scolds him, telling him to keep quiet. Susan leaves after giving her contact details. Once she's gone, Hakan insists that he is sure the shirt is in the seller's storage, but Neşet brushes him off, telling him not to waste his time and instead bring him tea quickly. Frustrated, Hakan storms out of the shop. Mazhar eliminates a businessman who was competing against Faisal Erdem for the Hagia Sophia restoration project, ensuring that the project goes to Faisal no matter what. Meanwhile, Memo makes a reckless decision and gambles away all the rent money, losing everything. When Hakan finds out, he is furious and storms out, heading straight to a bar to cool off. Memo follows him, apologizing and admitting his huge mistake. He insists that he only did it to improve their situation, but promises never to repeat it. He assures Hakan that from now on, he will only listen to him. After some hesitation, Hakan finally calms down and forgives him. While sitting at the bar, Hakan suddenly remembers the shirt. Without wasting time, he sneaks into the antique shop, takes the shirt, and calls Susan, telling her that he has it. If she wants to buy it, she should meet him at the open market. Hakan, Memo, and Susan sit at a table, finalizing the deal when Neşet suddenly appears. He snatches the shirt from Hakan's hands and scolds him, saying that the shirt is not for sale. Before the argument can continue, gunshots erupt from all directions, chaos ensues, and Neşet gets shot. Without hesitation, Hakan rushes him into a car and speeds toward the hospital. But Neşet, struggling to speak, insists that he must not be taken to a hospital. Instead, he gives Hakan an address for a pharmacy and orders him to take him there. Hakan protests, arguing that a hospital is the only safe option, but Neşet, now furious, demands to be taken to the pharmacy. Left with no choice, Hakan follows his instructions and heads there. At the pharmacy, the pharmacist Kamal and his daughter Zeynep quickly take Neşet inside and ask Hakan to wait. Confused and overwhelmed, Hakan demands to know how they know Neşet and why his father specifically told him to come here. Questions flood his mind, but Kamal remains silent, only assuring him that he will explain everything later. As Neşet's condition worsens, Hakan grows restless, unable to make sense of anything. His frustration turns into desperation as he watches Kamal remove the bullets from Neşet's chest. But despite his efforts, he fails to save him. With his last breath, Neşet tells Hakan to trust Kamal and follow everything he says, but nothing makes sense to Hakan. Before he can ask more, Neşet takes his final breath right in front of him. Overcome with grief, Hakan holds him tightly, unable to stop his tears. Kamal asks Neşet about the shirt, but Hakan assures him that it is safe with him. Growing impatient, Hakan demands to know who they are. That's when Kamal finally reveals the truth. They are the loyal ones. protectors of the Protector. Hakan is completely lost, none of it makes sense. Kamal explains that there are 7 immortals in the world, and to defeat them, protectors are born. He further reveals that Hakan is the last of the Protector's bloodline. Hearing this, Hakan scoffs, finding it all absurd. He refuses to believe a word and decides to leave. But Kamal stops him and asks him to try on the talismanic shirt just once. Determined to prove them wrong, Hakan puts it on, only to be shocked when the fabric absorbs into his body, disappearing completely, leaving behind a tattoo on his chest. Before he can even process what just happened, Zeynep suddenly raises a gun and shoots him in the forehead. The next day, Faisal discusses the young man who saved the girl with Layla and reveals that it was Hakan, who came here for an interview. He suggests offering him a job, but Layla disagrees, saying that Hakan has no qualifications and isn't suitable for the role. Faisal, however, reminisces about his younger days when he sees Hakan and insists that Layla reach out to him again and offer him the job. Meanwhile, Memo is captured by a corrupt policeman named Taken, who works for Mazar and lives off his money. They begin interrogating him, asking about the shirt. Memo refuses to speak, mocking them instead. Frustrated, Taken and his team start using severe tactics to force him to talk, but Memo stays silent, keeping his lips sealed. Elsewhere, Faisal insists that Layla contact Hakan and offer him the job. Layla prefers to hire someone else, but Faisal remains adamant. He explains that sometimes a person's skills and abilities are more important than degrees. Reluctantly, Layla agrees and decides to reach out to Hakan again. On the other hand, Hakan insists that they have hypnotized him or given him something, causing his current state. However, Kamal explains that many years ago, 7 immortals appeared in the world without known origin or purpose. These immortals were linked to various natural disasters and droughts. One night, Mahnet II had a dream revealing 3 items that could identify and eliminate these immortals. A virtue ring that glows upon contact with an immortal, a dagger capable of permanently killing an immortal, and a talismanic t-shirt that serves as armor for the Protector. Kamal continues, stating that his ancestors managed to kill 6 of the 7 immortals, leaving one still at large, whose identity and appearance remain unknown. He emphasizes that it is now Hakan's responsibility to protect Istanbul and, by extension, the world. Hakan, feeling desolate, mentions that he has no one left in this world, questioning his purpose. Zeynep interjects, reminding him that he is the Protector and that they are his family now. They further reveal that Nayset was among the loyal ones who raised Hakan, but couldn't disclose this truth due to his love and care for him. Hakan expresses a desire to spend some time alone with his father, and Kamal and Zeynep respectfully leave him with Nayset. Hakan approaches Nayset, tears streaming down his face, questioning why Nayset never told him the truth, and lamenting that if he truly is the Protector, he couldn't save Nayset. Overwhelmed, Hakan decides to leave. As he prepares to depart, Zeynep arrives with tea, only to find Hakan gone. She informs Kamal, who instructs her to find Hakan immediately, emphasizing that his protection is now her responsibility. Meanwhile, Taken tortures Memo, demanding information about the t-shirt. Memo refuses to speak, enduring the pain silently. Frustrated, Taken calls Mazar, reporting that either Memo knows nothing about the t-shirt or doesn't fear death. Mazar reprimands Taken for his incompetence, mentioning that he also failed to deal with Susan properly. Displeased with loose ends, Mazar orders Taken to handle Memo, stating he will personally deal with Susan. Elsewhere, Hakan returns to his Nayset's home, reminiscing about his past. He finds an old box containing his childhood toys, photos of Nayset, and other memories. Suddenly, he receives a call from Memo's phone. Answering quickly, he hears Tiken on the other end, summoning him for a meeting. As Hakan prepares to leave, Zeynep arrives, attempting to reason with him. Hakan insists he cannot lose Memo and is determined to save him at any cost. Zeynep advises him to never remove the shirt and reminds him that his safety is her responsibility now. Hakan retorts that he doesn't need anyone's protection. Zeynep proposes they search for Memo together, and Hakan agrees. As Hakan and Zeynep head to the location Taken provided, Layla calls Hakan to inform him about the job opportunity. Hakan shows little interest, but Layla, eager to please Faisal, reminds him of his dreams. Hakan responds that he'll consider it and ends the call. Upon arriving at the designated spot, Hakan spots Memo sitting on a distant bench and rushes toward him, ignoring Zeynep's warnings about a possible trap. Reaching Memo, Hakan finds him lifeless. At that moment, Taken fires at Hakan with a sniper, but the bullets have no effect. Chaos ensues, and Zeynep quickly leads Hakan away from the scene. Back at the pharmacy, Zeynep discusses Hakan's readiness with her father, expressing concerns about his need for further training. Meanwhile, Hakan inquires about Murad, whom he saw in a photograph at Nayset's house. Kamal reveals that Murad was the last Protector and Hakan's father, Stunned, Hakan realizes he was misled about being an orphan. Kamal explains that this deception was necessary to protect him from focusing too much on his past. Frustrated, Hakan argues that knowing the truth earlier might have enabled him to save Neset. Taken informs Mazar that he fired sniper shots at Hakan's chest and forehead, but they had no effect. Mazar, rather than being shocked, reprimands Taken for yet another failure. Taken, deeply shaken, insists he's never witnessed anything like this before. Mazar continues to express his disappointment, highlighting Taken's repeated shortcomings. Hakan then speaks with Kamal and Zeynep, suggesting that perhaps the immortal is hiding or already dead. Zeynep mocks his lack of understanding of the term immortal. Frustrated, Hakan declares his determination to kill the immortal and insists he needs the virtue ring to identify him. He asserts he's ready to avenge Neset's death and eliminate the immortal at all costs. In the past, the scenes of numerous casualties caused by the immortals are seen. Transitioning to the present, Zeynep intensifies Hakan's combat training to prepare him for the impending confrontation. They analyze recent environmental calamities, attributing them to the actions of the last immortal. Kamal informs them that it's time to retrieve the Virtue Ring, a crucial artifact. He directs them to a trusted loyal one named Aishi, residing outside the city with her son, who has been safeguarding the ring without contact from the loyal ones. Meanwhile, Faisal shares with Mazar the news of securing the Hagia Sophia contract, expressing his elation. Upon arriving at Aishi's deteriorated residence, Hakan and Zeynep doubt anyone lives there. Inside, they encounter a young man, Can, who defensively refuses to disclose his mother's whereabouts. Recognizing him as Aishi's son, Hakan calms the situation, prompting Zeynep to lower her weapon. Can leads them to Aishi, confined to a room due to her unstable mental state and tendency to wander off. After introducing them to his mother, Can steps away. Upon returning, Can makes a phone call, revealing to the recipient that Hakan and Zeynep have arrived to meet Aishi. This exposes Can's true identity as an agent appointed by Mazar, not Aishi's son. Meanwhile, during their conversation with Aishi, she remains unresponsive, repeatedly writing on a page. However, when Hakan shows her the protector's tattoo, she reacts with surprise, retrieves the ring from her mouth, and hands it to him, explaining that its stone is with someone named Sinan. She further reveals that the young man is not her son, but has been holding her captive. Unbeknownst to them, Can observes this interaction through surveillance cameras. Armed, he enters the room, but Zeynep quickly disarms him and Hakan restrains him. In the ensuing struggle, Aishi shoots Can. As more of Mazar's men arrive, Aishi urges Hakan and Zeynep to escape while she covers their retreat. Navigating through unfamiliar territory, Hakan, though disoriented, follows Zeynep, and together they evade their pursuers. While driving away, Layla calls Hakan again about the job offer. He declines, but she insists, mentioning that her own position is at risk and requests he explain his refusal directly to Faisal. Hakan agrees and visits Faisal's office where he encounters Mazar. Layla informs Mazar that Hakan is reluctant to accept the job. Mazar, observing Hakan, remarks that perhaps it's for the best. During their interaction, Mazar receives a call inquiring about Can's status, which raises Hakan's suspicions about Mazar's involvement. Consequently, Hakan reconsiders and informs Layla that he is now willing to accept the job offer. Meanwhile, Kamal visits the hospital to gather information about Susan, only to discover that Mazar has already eliminated her. Kamal retrieves footage from the hospital's security cameras, capturing Mazar's image. Back at the pharmacy, he and Zeynep discuss the photograph when Hakan arrives. Upon seeing the picture, Hakan identifies the man as Mazar and explains that he accepted the job to keep an eye on him. Zeynep and Kamal advise caution, but Hakan dismisses their concerns. Determined, Hakan urges Kamal to locate the dagger swiftly, expressing his intent to kill Mazar. They all suspect Mazar to be the last immortal. Kamal explains that while it's true that immortals and protectors are naturally drawn to each other, they need concrete evidence before taking action. Zeynep recalls that Sinan was a renowned architect with significant works in Istanbul, suggesting they search for the stone. Hakan, frustrated, insists that Mazar is the immortal. Kamal emphasizes the importance of certainty and thorough research, noting that the loyal ones would have hidden the stone in a place where no one could easily find it. Meanwhile, Faisal praises Layla for finally securing a job for Hakan. He organizes a party to celebrate winning the tender of the Hagia Sophia project and gifts Layla a necklace, asking her to wear it to tonight's party. At the same time, Zeynep researches all of Sinan's architectural works, while Hakan, now working in Faisal's security, also serves as a guard at the event. Layla arranges a meeting between Hakan and Faisal. Just then, Zeynep arrives with important information, and an assailant suddenly tries to attack Faisal. Hakan quickly grabs the attacker's arm and saves him. The attacker turns out to be Gökhan's only son, the person who was competing against Faisal for Hagia Sophia restoration project. He believes Faisal is responsible for his father's death. Faisal's men promptly take the attacker away. Later, Zeynep meets Hakan and informs him that she has discovered the stone's location. It is at the Mimar Sinan Museum. Shortly after, Layla arrives and immediately praises the Hakan's swift action. She even flirts with Hakan, which puts Zeynep in an awkward spot. Hakan sides with Layla and tells Zeynep to pass along his regards to the Kamal, suggesting he will soon join them to retrieve the stone. Zeynep, intrigued, quietly leaves. After the party, Zeynep goes to the pharmacy and is astonished to see its gate unlocked. When she enters, she finds that someone has abducted Kamal. In the basement, she discovers Kemal tied to a chair. As she approaches, a boy named Emir suddenly attacks her. A struggle ensues, and eventually, Emir uses a drug to knock Zeynep unconscious. When Zeynep regains consciousness, she quickly subdues Emir by trapping him between her thighs. On the verge of death, he vows that he will never let them surrender him to the immortals. In that tense moment, Zeynep realizes that Emir is also one of the loyals and informs him of their shared allegiance. Emir then examines their tattoos to verify their identity and, satisfied, he releases them, though he is deeply remorseful for having troubled so much. Later, Kamal asks Emir about his father, Sardar, since he is familiar with him. Emir replies that his father is doing fine, and he praises Zeynep's impressive fighting skills. Soon after, Hakan arrives, and, upon seeing the protector, Emir becomes visibly delighted because working with him is a matter of pride. Kamal then explains that Hakan is heading with Emir to Prince Island to meet Sardar. When Hakan inquires about the reason, Kamal clarifies that his family lived there and that Sardar will provide him with more details about his heritage. He also stresses the importance of staying connected with his past to better prepare for the threat of the immortals and secure their future. Accepting this, Hakan departs for the island with Emir, while Zeynep and Kamal set off in search of the stone. Kamal and Zeynep search for the stone, but they are being watched by a blind man. Despite their efforts, they fail to find it, leaving them deeply disappointed. Meanwhile, Hakan and Emir arrive at Prince Island, where Sardar welcomes Hakan with great joy. He takes him to his parents' house and recounts a tragic past. Hakan's father, overcome by love, had momentarily forgotten his duty. While bathing, he had removed his talismanic shirt, and in a desperate attempt to protect his wife, he confronted an immortal without any protection. However, without the shirt's power, he stood no chance and was killed alongside his wife. When Sardar and the others learned of this, they rushed to his house, only to find that he had hidden young Hakan in the kitchen, ensuring his survival. On the other side, Faisal visits Zeynep at her university, where she is pursuing a PhD in Ottoman history. He offers her a job, requesting her help in the restoration of Hagia Sophia. However, Zeynep politely declines. Faisal insists, but she firmly states that she is already committed to another job and has no intention of changing her decision. Meanwhile, Kamal follows the blind man to his home, holds a gun to his forehead, and forces him to reveal the truth. The terrified man confesses that a man had already come days earlier, beaten him severely, and taken the stone. Worse, he had poured acid into his eyes, leaving him blind. When asked about his identity, he describes it in a manner similar to Majhar. Hakan doesn't return to the pharmacy all night, leaving everyone worried. When his phone is traced, they discover he is at Layla's place. Zeynep gets furious, frustrated by his irresponsible behavior. Emir goes to bring him back, and when he finds him, he scolds him for keeping everyone awake with worry. He then complains about how hungry he is, so Hakan takes him to a restaurant for breakfast. As they eat, Emir shares how he has spent his whole life dreaming of meeting the protector, wishing he could become one himself. Just then, a man named Yasin, a journalist, approaches them. He starts a conversation with Hakan, warning him that Mazar is a highly corrupt and dangerous man. Hakan is confused, so Yasin elaborates, revealing that the man who attempted to attack Faisal a few days ago was later visited in jail by Majhar, posing as his lawyer. Since then, the attacker has been completely silent, as if his entire life has been erased. Yasin has gathered all this information on a flash drive and is willing to hand it over, but in exchange, he wants evidence against Faisal and Mazar. However, Hakan refuses, suspecting that Mazar might have sent Yasin to manipulate him. He takes the flash drive but walks away without making any deal. Hakan returns to the pharmacy, where Kamal questions him about his whereabouts the previous night. Hakan dismisses him, saying it's his personal life and no one should interfere. Kamal apologizes, clarifying that he only meant to warn him that a new relationship could distract him from his mission. Hakan, frustrated, declares that he doesn't want to be the protector. He questions what his father achieved by sacrificing himself. His unknown siblings were killed. His mother lost her life for no reason, and he was left to suffer. His dream was to become as successful as Faisal, not to get involved in this dangerous legacy. He calls his father a fool, saying if he were wise, he would have never chosen this path. Kamal, angered by his words, slaps him, shocking Hakan. In a rage, Hakan tells Amir to leave if he values his life. Kamal then orders Amir to return to Princess Island, but Amir refuses, stating that he has dedicated his life to protecting the protector. Secretly, he takes the flash drive and sets out to expose Mazhar himself. He goes to one of Mazhar's old locations, gathering information from people in the area. However, he remains unaware that these people are reporting everything back to Mazhar. Meanwhile, Kamal visits Timur, a well-known mobster who is also a loyal. Their relationship is strained, but Kamal informs him that the protector has returned and is searching for his dagger. Timur, surprised, recalls that Murad's son, Levent, had died. Kamal corrects him, revealing that Murad's younger son, Hakan, is alive and was raised in an orphanage. Now he is the new protector. Timur insists that they must follow protocol and inform the master and other loyals, but Kamal argues that Hakan is not ready for this responsibility. Eventually, Timur shares the location of the dagger. On the other hand, Amir sneaks into Mazhar's house, searching for evidence. However, before he can escape, Mazhar ambushes him from behind and kills him on the spot. Hakan returns to the pharmacy and apologizes to Kamal. However, he quickly adds that he is the one who should be apologizing since he has lost sight of what truly matters. He assures them that he is not like his father, he will continue his mission but will not give up on his dreams either. Kamal and Zainab agree with him. Hakan then brings up the dagger, saying they need to find it as soon as possible. But Kamal surprises him by revealing that the dagger has already been found. He explains that after his father's death, the loyal ones hid it in a museum. Even if someone discovers its location, retrieving it is nearly impossible due to the museum's strict security. The next day, Hakan and Zainab go to the museum, pretending to take pictures of each other while secretly observing the security cameras, footage angles, and the dagger's exact location. Once back at the pharmacy, they share their findings, explaining that the dagger is stored in a highly secure area, constantly guarded. Hakan then suggests a plan. He will sabotage the museum's electricity one day, and the next day he will enter disguised as an electrician, steal the dagger, and escape in the car where Kamal will be waiting. Zainab finds the plan too cinematic and risky, insisting they need more research. But Kamal, needing a quick solution, agrees to go with Hakan's idea. Zainab then questions how Hakan plans to escape if he does manage to get the dagger. As he starts thinking about it, Kamal recalls that someone might help them. He mentions that Timur told him about Ceylan, a loyal one who knows every inch of the museum. Hakan and Zainab go to meet Ceylan, but as soon as she sees them, she panics and runs away. They manage to catch her, and when Hakan shows his protector tattoo, she is impressed. She explains that she mistook them for someone else as she has borrowed money from several people. They take her to the pharmacy, offer her food, and ask for her help. Ceylan reveals that her father was a museum security guard and was the one who placed the dagger there. When Kamal asks about her father, she sadly tells them he is no longer alive. When Hakan tells her they need help to escape from the museum after stealing the dagger, Ceylan takes off her bracelet and hands it to him, saying her father always told her it would help someone one day. Hakan opens a hidden compartment in the bracelet and finds a passcode, one that unlocks the door leading to the museum's rooftop. Late at night, Hakan and Zainab quietly enter the museum from the rooftop. Moving cautiously, they cause a short circuit, cutting off the electricity. The next day, Hakan, disguised as an electrician, enters the museum. While fixing the electrical issue, he discreetly knocks out the guards. Outside, Kamal monitors the security cameras and disables the alarms from a van. Meanwhile, Zainab and Ceylan create a distraction inside the museum. Zainab accuses Ceylan of stealing her phone, and Ceylan dramatically runs away, causing a commotion among the staff. In the chaos, Hakan manages to steal the dagger, but just as he secures it, Kamal notices through the cameras that one of the knocked-out officers is waking up and heading outside. Acting quickly, Kamal grabs his gun, storms into the museum, and fires a shot into the air. Pretending to be a desperate man fed up with corruption, he shouts that he will end his life. His outburst shifts everyone's attention, allowing Hakan to escape through the rooftop. Outside, Zainab and Ceylan are already in the van, waiting. As soon as Hakan jumps in, Zainab, looking tense, says she saw Kamal entering the museum. She fears something went wrong and insists they wait for him. But Hakan, aware of the limited time, argues they have to leave and will figure out a way to free Kamal later. Before they can decide, Police sirens blare in the distance. With no other option, they speed away, leaving Kamal behind. Hakan and Zeynep hide in the pharmacy's basement as the police raid the place. Luckily, the officers don't find the hidden section, and they remain safe. The next day, Hakan and Zeynep wait outside the police station, trying to find out about Kamal. Seeing a large number of officers, Zeynep warns Hakan not to go inside and risk his life. Meanwhile, Mazhar shows Faisal pictures of Zeynep and Hakan standing outside the pharmacy, suggesting they were involved in the robbery. However, Faisal brushes it off, saying his job is only to handle security, nothing else. Annoyed, Mazhar stays quiet. Inside the police station, an officer recognizes Ceylan and approaches her. To avoid suspicion, she quickly pretends she came to visit someone. When she spots Kamal, she suddenly accuses him of robbery, causing a scene before rushing to hug him. In that moment, Kamal whispers something in her ear. Outside, Ceylan informs Hakan and Zeynep about Kamal's message that Hakan must stay away from all of this. His protection is their priority, but Hakan refuses to accept it. Determined, he insists on rescuing Kamal at any cost. Later, Zeynep meets Timur, believing he might have connections inside the police station. She explains the entire situation, hoping for his help. Timur agrees on one condition: he wants to meet the protector. With no other choice, Zeynep accepts. The next day, as Faisal and Layla discuss something in the office, Yasin suddenly enters disguised as an office boy. Without warning, he attacks Faisal, pointing a gun at him and demanding he confess his crimes. From a distance, Hakan witnesses the scene and immediately intervenes, saving Faisal. Yasin's rage stems from his ruined life. Because of Faisal, no one is willing to offer him a job. Desperate and helpless, he resorted to this act. But with Hakan's interference, he gets caught and the police take him away. Later, Zeynep heads to the police station with Timur. Before entering, Timur asks her to wait outside. After a while, he comes out, along with Kamal, making Zeynep extremely happy. Together, they return to the basement, where Kamal reunites with Zeynep and Hakan. Seeing them safe, he is overwhelmed with relief. Timur finally meets the protector in person. After the meeting, Kamal tells Timur it's time for him to leave. As Timur stands at the pharmacy's entrance, Kamal warns him that if Hakan ever finds out that his siblings died because of Timur's negligence, it will be disastrous. Timur, visibly angered, snaps that he didn't kill them. In frustration, he adds that their master knows nothing about this, and if he ever finds out, Kamal will be discarded, just like Daria. Kamal, knowing he has no other choice, presses further. Timur sighs, admitting he has many unanswered questions and that the answers lie with Daria. Kamal points out that she was cast out years ago and has no contact with them anymore. Timur then hands him Daria's contact details before walking away. Meanwhile, Faisal furiously lashes out at Mazhar for his security failure, reminding him that it was his responsibility. But instead of focusing on that, Mazhar was obsessively chasing Hakan. This mistake costs him his job as Faisal fires him on the spot. Enraged, Mazhar retaliates, claiming he has dedicated his entire life to Faisal, only to be discarded like this. Faisal remains silent, showing no remorse. At the same time, Hakan visits Layla to reconcile, but she is still furious. Feeling neglected, she slams the door in his face. Undeterred, he stays outside, waiting. However, before he realizes it, Mazhar sneaks up from behind and knocks him unconscious. Hakan wakes up tied to a chair in Mazhar's office. A brutal fight erupts between the two. Mazhar, filled with anger, blames Hakan for ruining his relationship with Faisal ever since he joined duty. His frustration reaches a breaking point, and he declares his intent to kill Hakan. Unfazed, Hakan coldly responds that he too has been waiting for the moment to take Mazhar down. The tension explodes into a fierce battle. Both exchange powerful blows, but in the struggle, Hakan, acting in self-defense, kills Mazhar. At that very moment, Layla steps outside for some work and witnesses the shocking scene. Hakan standing over Mazhar's lifeless body. Shock floods her face as she struggles to process what just happened. Meanwhile, Hakan, still catching his breath, desperately tells her not to misunderstand. He insists it was self-defense, but Layla, overwhelmed, remains frozen in disbelief. Police arrive and arrest Hakan. He keeps trying to explain to Layla that he acted in self-defense, but no one believes him. There are no wounds on his body, as he was wearing the talismanic shirt, while Mazhar lay lifeless nearby. Outside, Faisal stands anxiously, unable to step into the crime scene. His patience wears thin as he waits for any news. A few moments later, Layla finally emerges, her face pale and filled with distress. She looks at him, struggling to find the right words before revealing that Hakan was the one who killed Mazhar. She quickly adds that it was an act of self-defense, but even as she says it, confusion lingers in her voice. There are no visible wounds on Hakan, nothing to explain how he is held captive, leaving her deeply unsettled. The weight of the situation crashes down on her, and she finds herself unable to hold back her emotions any longer. Tears well up in her eyes and she breaks down, completely overwhelmed. Seeing her in such a vulnerable state, Faisal doesn't hesitate. He steps forward, wrapping his arms around her, holding her close as she cries, offering whatever comfort he can in that moment. As the police escort Hakan away, his mind races with everything that just happened. As he turns back for a final glance, his eyes land on something unusual: Layla's bracelet. A faint glow radiates from it the moment Faisal's hand touches her. His gaze sharpens, confusion flickering across his face, but then it all clicks. The truth he hadn't considered before now becomes glaringly clear. Faisal isn't just any ordinary man. He is the last immortal. The realization sends a jolt through him, but before he can react, the officers push him forward, forcing him to look away. Later, Layla calls Zeynep and tells her that Hakan is in trouble and that he has been arrested for Mazhar's murder. Zeynep is shocked at first, then rushes to her father. If Mazhar was killed without a dagger, it means he wasn't the last immortal. Frustration builds that whoever they thought was immortal wasn't the real one, meaning the true enemy is still out there, free, and they don't even have the stone to track him. At that moment, Kamal speaks up. There is only one way to find the immortal. He must break his loyalty oath and meet someone he is forbidden from seeing. Meanwhile, Faisal stands before Mazhar's lifeless body, speaking to him as if he were still alive. He reveals the dark truth that he was the one who killed Mazhar's wife and child, ensuring his loyalty. A flashback shows Mazhar grieving over their loss, with Faisal pretending to console him, but in reality, he was the one who took everything from him. On the other side, Kamal tells Zeynep about Daria. Her job was to gather information about the immortal, but as she continued her investigation, she started admiring them and eventually sided with them. When she was reassigned, she refused to obey and was expelled. No one was allowed to contact her after that. Zeynep realizes that Daria must have continued her research over the years and might know who the last immortal is. Kamal agrees and decides to meet her. Meanwhile, Faisal visits Layla at her office and tells her he is going to get Hakan released. He asks if she wants to come along, but she refuses. He then questions whether she doubts Hakan's innocence. She admits she is unsure if he is telling the truth because there are no wounds on his body. Faisal insists she is thinking the wrong way. Then, he finally reveals the truth that he is an immortal and has lived for thousands of years. Layla laughs, thinking he is joking. But as Faisal continues, her amusement turns into unease. Suddenly, he picks up a knife and slashes his own throat. Layla gasps in horror, but he remains unharmed. He explains that Hakan believed Mazhar was the last immortal, but he was wrong. He also reveals that the Protector took his wife Ruya from him. Then, he makes an offer that he can heal Layla's mother, who is gravely ill. Later, Faisal arrives at the police station and secures Hakan's release. But as soon as they are alone in a secluded valley, Hakan attacks. They fight fiercely, but Hakan is unharmed due to his talismanic shirt. Faisal, however, remains calm. He pulls out his phone and plays a video of Layla, warning Hakan that if he does anything reckless, she will die. Left with no choice, Hakan is forced to obey. Faisal orders him to bring him the dagger. Kamal goes to meet Daria alone, refusing to let Zeynep come with him. He tells her to wait outside, but she ignores his instructions and secretly follows. However, both get caught. Daria confronts Kamal, saying that just as he got her expelled, she won't spare him now. Before taking any action, she reveals a crucial secret that doesn't know who the last immortal is, but she does know that they need the Protector's blood to revive the others. With that, she and her allies lock Kamal and Zeynep inside a room and release poisonous gas. Trapped inside, Kamal quickly notices the ventilation system. Without hesitation, he lifts Zeynep and pushes her through it, instructing her to go outside and open the door. He also says his last words that he is proud of her and satisfied with how she fulfilled her responsibilities. But Zeynep, in shock, doesn't fully understand what's happening. She crawls through the ventilation, rushes to the door, and unlocks it, only to find Kamal lifeless. Overwhelmed with grief and guilt, she breaks down, unable to stop crying. Still in tears, she reaches the pharmacy where Hakan is waiting. She tells Hakan everything that they went to find out about the last immortal, but instead discovers his real mission: to revive the others using the Protector's blood. Hakan then tells Zeynep that Faisal is the last immortal, and now he has Layla in his grasp. He plans to take the dagger and exchange it for Layla's life. Zeynep warns him against it, insisting that it's a trap. But Hakan refuses to listen. He declares that as the Protector, he won't let an innocent life be lost because he has already lost too much. Zeynep reminds him of those who have already died trying to save the Protector, but he remains firm. Grieving for Kamal, he takes a moment outside for fresh air. Zeynep follows, only to realize too late because Hakan has locked her in the basement and taken the dagger. Before leaving, he tells her he won't lose anyone else. He will end Faisal and avenge everyone. Despite Zeynep's desperate pleas, Hakan walks away, determined to finish what he started. Hakan arrives at Faisal's office where Layla is already tied to a chair. Without hesitation, he tells Faisal that his end is near, but Faisal, holding a gun to Layla, remains calm. Hakan confronts him, saying he now knows his true plan to bring back the other immortals. However, Faisal corrects him. He doesn't care about the others. All he wants is to bring his wife, Ruya, back to life. He loves her deeply and is willing to go to any lengths for her. For that, he needs Hakan's blood. Hakan refuses, but before he can react, Faisal pulls the trigger, shooting Layla in the stomach. Shocked, Hakan freezes, his mind racing as Layla's life hangs in the balance. Hakan, completely overwhelmed, finally gives in. Using the dagger, he extracts his blood and hands it over to Faisal, even removing his talismanic shirt. As soon as the deal is done, Faisal's men enter the room and Faisal leaves. Hakan, spotting an opportunity, grabs a gun from one of the guards and swiftly eliminates them all. Without wasting time, he lifts Layla and rushes her to the basement, placing her in a car and speeding toward the pharmacy. When he arrives, the place is empty. Layla, weak and barely holding on, reveals something shocking that Faisal had offered her a deal. If she trapped Hakan and handed him over, Faisal would use his blood to bring her mother back to life. Since immortals can revive the dead with their blood, it was a tempting offer, but she refused because her love for Hakan was real. With those final words, she takes her last breath. Hakan, devastated, breaks down, vowing to bring her back using Faisal's blood. Determined, he calls Zeynep, informing her that Faisal has escaped once again. Zeynep scolds him for being reckless and tells him that while tracking Faisal, she saw him enter a house. Hakan demands the location immediately, but she hesitates, fearing he'll act impulsively and ruin everything. Angry and in tears, Hakan finally reveals the heartbreaking news that Layla is gone. Stunned, Zeynep is left speechless. Eventually, she gives in and shares the address. Hakan arrives at the location, eager to storm inside, but Zeynep stops him. She reveals that Faisal now has both the dagger and the talismanic shirt, making him even more powerful. Going in would be a mistake, but Hakan, blinded by grief and rage, refuses to listen. They enter the house cautiously, but it's empty because Faisal is already gone. Faisal had previously hired an archaeologist for the restoration of Hagia Sophia, but the man, acting on his own, ventured into the basement without permission. As he stepped into a hidden chamber, he was awestruck by the sight of ancient artifacts. Before he could process what he had discovered, Faisal appeared behind him and killed him. Meanwhile, Hakan and Zeynep are trying to figure out Faisal's next move. Suddenly, it dawns on Hakan that Faisal's ultimate goal is to bring Ruya back, and his love for Hagia Sophia is just as deep. This means Ruya must be buried in its basement. Zeynep then recalls that Faisal once showed her a hidden room there, possibly where all the immortals' graves are located. Without wasting time, they decide to head to Hagia Sophia. At the same time, Faisal is already in the basement. He carefully pours Hakan's blood into a bowl and prepares to revive Ruya. Just as he is about to give it to her, Hakan arrives and shoots the bowl, spilling the blood onto the ground. A fierce fight breaks out between them. As they battle, Hakan's blood, now seeping into the floor, begins to flow toward the graves of the immortals. Realizing what's happening, Hakan declares that he won't let Faisal bring them back, but Faisal insists that he only wants to revive his wife, who was killed by Murad, Hakan's father, but he refuses to listen. Seizing the moment, Zeynep signals Hakan, and together they restrain Faisal. Hakan quickly stabs him with the dagger, but Faisal manages to dodge, receiving only a minor wound. As the fight intensifies, Zeynep grabs the dagger and rushes toward Layla. Without hesitation, she presses Faisal's blood onto Layla's lips. However, the spilled blood continues seeping into the graves, and to their horror, Ruya comes back to life. Overcome with emotion, Faisal embraces her, but the ground beneath them begins to tremble. The entire basement shakes violently as the rest of the immortals start awakening. In 1632 Istanbul, where a relationship forms between the Protector and the immortal Pire. However, she ultimately betrays him, stabbing him with the dagger and declaring that a Protector and an immortal can never be one. At that moment, the Protector isn't wearing the talismanic shirt. When he tries to kill her with the dagger, it has no effect. Pire then reveals that their relationship has weakened the powers of the Protector and all the relics. Without hesitation, she kills him. In the present, the explosion at Hagia Sophia is reported as a gas leak, and surprisingly, Layla is alive again. Meanwhile, Zeynep, due to her injuries, is hospitalized, but the doctors declare her out of danger. Confused and overwhelmed, Layla asks Hakan how she came back to life. He explains everything, but she fears that she might not be the same as before. Hakan reassures her, saying she is even more beautiful now and has nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, Faisal and Ruya finally reunite. savoring a quiet moment together over a glass of wine. A sense of victory lingers in the air, but Ruya's expression remains tense. Her unease soon surfaces as she voices her concern. The danger isn't over yet. The last protector is still alive, and as long as he exists, their safety isn't guaranteed. Faisal, however, remains composed. A subtle smile plays on his lips as he reassures her, his tone calm and confident. He tells her there's nothing to worry about. He has already set everything in motion. His plan is in place, and soon the threat will be eliminated once and for all. He then holds a press conference, announcing that the gas explosion was caused by Hakan, whom he labels a terrorist and fugitive. This turns the public against him. Soon, hospital guards recognize Hakan and start chasing him. In the chaos, he knocks out 2 guards, but before he can escape, another guard sneaks up behind him and strikes his head with a baton, knocking him unconscious. When Hakan regains consciousness, he finds himself in the basement of a pharmacy, surrounded by the loyal ones. They inform him that his life is in danger because the entire city is after him, but he insists that he needs to go to the hospital and free Zeynep. Despite their warnings, he refuses to listen. Just then, Azra, the most senior loyal, arrives and puts an end to the argument. Hakan says they can't keep him there against his will. However, Azra clarifies that he is free to go, but he must be aware that 7 immortals are now roaming freely in Istanbul. If he gets arrested, there will be no one left to stop them. Left with no choice, he stays. Azra then questions how Zeynep managed to make such a mess of things, but Hakan is just as confused. Meanwhile, Zeynep regains consciousness in the hospital. Hakan defends her, telling Azra that she went beyond her duty and is not at fault. Azra decides that Zeynep must clarify everything herself, and orders Can and another loyal to bring her from the hospital. However, Zeynep is already in the pharmacy, gathering her father's belongings. When Can and the other loyal arrive, she attacks them, knocking them down before escaping. She goes to her house and starts packing, exhausted by everything and wanting to leave Istanbul far behind. But when she sees old pictures of her father, memories flood back, making her emotional. Meanwhile, Azra declares Zeynep a traitor, arguing that if she were truly loyal, she wouldn't run but would come and defend herself. Hakan strongly disagrees, but Azra insists they will find her and present her before the council, letting them decide her fate. Hakan refuses to accept this and prepares to leave, grabbing his dagger. But before he can go, Can and the others restrain him. Azra coldly tells him that she won't let him leave, even if it means locking him up, because it's all for his own protection. As Layla is driving, strange voices echo in her mind. She loses control over her thoughts and unknowingly steers the car to an unfamiliar location. When she arrives, she finds Faisal and Ruya already waiting for her. Faisal then reveals the shocking truth that his blood now runs through her veins. Whether she likes it or not, she will now do whatever he commands. Meanwhile, Zeynep arrives at Daria's office, leaving Daria stunned to see her alive. Without hesitation, Zeynep kills her, avenging her father. As she prepares to leave Istanbul for good, memories of her father's words come rushing back. She had promised never to leave the protector alone and to give her life to save Istanbul if needed. Torn by this, she stops, reconsidering her decision. Eventually, she turns her car around and heads back. She arrives at the pharmacy basement, where Hakan is being tied to a chair. As she tries to free him, she is caught, sparking a fight. Hakan quickly intervenes, stopping them all. He reminds them that if they keep fighting among themselves, they will never be able to face the immortals. He tells Azra that they need unity. Only together can they defeat all 7 immortals. Zeynep then reveals that she met Daria, who warned her about an impending large-scale attack linked to the past. Realizing the urgency, Hakan asks for her help in taking down the immortals. Declaring his leadership, he tells everyone that from now on, they will follow his lead. Their duty as the protector and the loyal ones is to eliminate the immortals and safeguard Istanbul. Once again, Faisal takes control of Layla's mind and leads her to an unknown location, where he and Ruya are already waiting. When she arrives, she has no recollection of how she got there. Faisal reminds her that she no longer controls her own body because he does. She has become a part of him, now an immortal, and the only way she can be killed is by the talismanic dagger. If she wants to free herself, she must obey his commands. Meanwhile, Pire and the other immortals steal a highly poisonous insect from the Istanbul Museum. They begin large-scale production of it, preparing for something sinister. On the other side, Zeynep finally admits that she killed Daria. Hakan, unfazed, says that what's done is done, and now they must focus on staying united and gathering more intel about the upcoming attack. Just then, Layla arrives. Hakan questions her about where she has been all this time. Layla hesitates before saying she needs to tell him something and that he shouldn't have come here. But before she can say more, Hakan reveals that she is now one of them and will stay by his side. Azra notices something off and pulls Hakan aside, warning him to be careful with his choices and not blindly trust anyone. Hakan then tells Azra that she should remember she is just a loyal one and not interfere with his decisions. As their conversation ends, news breaks about the museum robbery. Realizing the theft might be linked to the attack, he gathers everyone. Zainab mentions that she has a contact who works there and suggests meeting them to get more information. Hakan decides to go along, but since he is a wanted man, he takes Layla with him. The three head to the museum to gather information. There, they learn that the stolen insect has a history of causing massive plagues. These creatures grow rapidly underground and trigger earthquakes due to their movements. They consume everything in their path, living or dead, animals, birds, even humans. Meanwhile, Can, keeping watch outside, notices that some police officers have recognized Hakan. He quickly messages Zainab, urging them to leave immediately. But before they can escape, Faisal once again takes control of Layla's mind. She unknowingly moves away and smashes a box, triggering the alarm. As soon as she regains her senses, chaos erupts. Hakan and Zainab barely manage to escape, and the police fail to capture them. After struggling to get out, they finally return to the pharmacy. Once there, Zainab starts suspecting Layla's strange behavior. She confronts Hakan, saying she doesn't trust her at all, especially since she wasn't around when the alarm went off. Hakan dismisses her concerns, accusing her of being biased against Layla. Furious, Zainab slaps him, reminding him of everything she has done for him, only to be doubted like this. Heartbroken, she storms out. Meanwhile, Faisal summons Layla back to him. Completely under his control, she is powerless against him. He reminds her that resistance is futile because she belongs to him now, body and soul. With his control now absolute, he asks her about the Immortals' plans. Layla reveals that they are already preparing for their attack. Faisal smirks, saying the time has come to meet with the others, and orders Layla to accompany him. Faisal takes Layla to meet the other Immortals and introduces her as one of them. However, the others refuse to accept her, arguing that she is only half human, half immortal. One of them steps closer, saying he has a fondness for mixed blood. Disgusted, Layla snaps back, saying she finds his face repulsive. Offended, the immortal grabs her by the throat, but before he can do anything, Faisal swiftly intervenes. He grabs the attacker by the neck and kills him on the spot. Looking at the rest, he warns them to remember who brought them back to life. He knows they have been plotting behind his back and keeping secrets from him. He declares that he alone will kill the Protector and threatens that anyone who dares to look at Layla the wrong way will meet the same fate as the one lying dead before them. Hearing this, the remaining Immortals back off and leave. Later, Faisal apologizes to Ruya, explaining that this was necessary. After that, Can, Hakan, and Layla head to meet an insect specialist. Hakan instructs Layla to stay outside and keep watch while he and Can go inside. The professor explains that these insects were incredibly deadly in ancient times, destroying entire cities. It is possible that their remains could be used to bring them back to life. As Layla stands guard, she secretly informs the police about Hakan's location. Just as she does, Zainab happens to glance in her direction. Her eyes narrow as she quickly pieces everything together. Layla has betrayed them. A wave of shock and disappointment washes over her, but there's no time to react. Inside, Hakan and Can move swiftly, desperately searching for a way out. Every second counts and they push forward, determined to escape. But before they can make it, chaos erupts. Sirens wail and footsteps echo all around them. The police arrive in full force, blocking every possible exit. Realizing they are completely trapped, Hakan has no choice. The officers close in, weapons drawn, leaving no room for resistance. In mere moments, he is surrounded from all sides, and before he can do anything, they seize him, taking him into custody at last. The locusts are growing rapidly, and Pire is thrilled to see this progress. Despite Faisal's warnings, she refuses to abandon her mission. Meanwhile, he gifts Layla a locket, appreciating her effort in making Hakan imprisoned. On the other hand, Hakan is transferred to a high-security mental hospital after his claims about the Protector and the Immortals. Meanwhile, Zainab talks to Azra, concerned that an attack could happen at any moment. She insists they must act quickly to get Hakan out, but Azra believes they should wait until the situation cools down. This leads to an argument, and Zainab storms out. However, she is denied entry into the hospital, forcing her to back off. Inside, Hakan takes advantage of a restroom break to escape. He climbs out through a window, reaching the rooftop. Just as he is about to jump down, the guards capture him. They strap him to a bed and inject him with a sedative to keep him restrained. Later, Zeynep confronts Layla, demanding to know why she betrayed Hakan to the police. Layla finally confesses that she has turned into an immortal, and Faisal now controls her mind. He can make her do anything, and she feels like she's losing herself. Desperate for help, she pleads with Zeynep, who agrees. They get into a car, and Zeynep asks how much she knows about the plan. Layla only knows that the locusts are multiplying rapidly, and that they will be released all at once, causing mass destruction in a single night. At that moment, Faisal reestablishes his hold over Layla. Her body stiffens as she suddenly grabs the steering wheel, trying to swerve the car. Reacting quickly, Zeynep unbuckles Layla's seatbelt and slams the brakes. The impact throws Layla forward, hitting her head against the dashboard and knocking her unconscious. Zeynep barely escapes harm, but Faisal is enraged, realizing he can no longer reach Layla. Meanwhile, Ruya's health starts to decline because she hasn't had enough of the Protector's blood. Faisal takes care of her, promising to get the blood soon. He then visits Hakan in the hospital, begging him to give more blood as Ruya is dying. But Hakan refuses, spits in his face, and threatens to kill both him and his wife soon. Before Faisal can react, an alarm blares throughout the hospital. The prisoners break out of their cells, creating chaos. Among them is a man named Levent, who helps Hakan escape. They manage to flee in an ambulance, finally breaking free. Later that night, Layla and Zeynep visit a climate officer, asking where recent minor earthquakes have occurred. He informs them that the most recent one was near the stadium. Realization strikes as they understand that the tremors must be connected to the locusts. The Immortals plan to release them during the upcoming Istanbul match when the stadium will be packed, ensuring maximum devastation. Hakan grabs a phone from Levent and calls Zeynep, informing her that he has escaped from the hospital. Layla immediately warns him that the match is happening today, and the Immortals will release the insects during the game. Hakan asks about the dagger, and Zeynep reassures him that she brought it with her. He tells them to meet him at the stadium while he goes after the Immortals. By the time Layla and Zeynep arrive, Hakan is already tracking the Immortals. Levent distracts an officer, allowing them to slip through. They join Hakan, and a fight breaks out between them and the Immortals. In the chaos, Hakan swiftly grabs the dagger and kills one of them, temporarily securing the area. However, the remaining Immortals escape, and then the police arrive there, secure the whole perimeter, and seize the whole operation. Later, Hakan expresses his gratitude to Levent, acknowledging that he finally believed him. Levent assures him that he is only doing his part. Then, he mentions that he had to help his brother, leaving Hakan stunned that he is indeed his brother. A surge of emotion washes over him at this unexpected revelation. Levent takes Hakan to a pharmacy basement, where he finally reveals his past. When he was a child, the Immortals attacked, and during the chaos, Faisal killed Murad and his wife. Just as he turned to kill Levent, someone intervened. Though the dagger had wounded Levent, people arrived in time to save him. Recently, seeing the city in crisis, he couldn't stay back any longer and decided to help. Hakan listens and then declares that together they will eliminate all the Immortals and save Istanbul. Meanwhile, Zeynep brings Layla to Hakan, saying she has something to confess. Hesitant but desperate, Layla admits that she has turned into an immortal and is under Faisal's control. He can manipulate her mind and make her do anything he wants. Just as she speaks, Faisal takes control again, forcing her to act against them. Then, he calls Hakan and warns him that if he wants to save Layla, he must bring the dagger to the location he specifies. Realizing the danger, they all agree that Layla must be contained somewhere safe before she can harm anyone else. Blindfolded, she is taken to a secure house and locked in a room for her safety. Meanwhile, Hakan and the team gather to devise a plan. Levent, now fully committed, assures them that he will stand by Hakan no matter what. With all his strength, he vows to fight the Immortals until the end. When Faisal returns home, he finds Ruya dead once again. Frustrated and desperate, he turns to Pirey and Mergen, who finally agrees to help him. However, they demand Layla in return. After some thought, Faisal agrees to hand her over, but only if they assist him in obtaining the Protector's blood. They accept the deal, setting their plan into motion. Meanwhile, Hakan trains rigorously, preparing every detail of his plan to kill Faisal directly. However, he tells Zeynep not to accompany him, insisting that he cannot afford to lose her. She refuses at first, but Hakan convinces her by assigning her an important task to protect Layla. He assures her that he trusts no one else with this responsibility. Zeynep finally agrees and heads to the safe house. At that moment, Layla unexpectedly lunges at Can, her movements swift and aggressive. Before he can react, she forces him into a fight, her attacks relentless. Can struggles to defend himself, caught off guard by her sudden hostility. The intensity of the fight escalates, but just as things take a dangerous turn, Zeynep Zeynep rushes in. Without hesitation, she throws herself into the struggle, pulling Can away from Layla's grasp. Breathless but determined, she takes a step back, ensuring Layla is securely trapped. On the other side, Hakan arrives at the bridge where Faisal had summoned him, but something feels off. As he carefully executes his plan, a sudden noise catches his attention. When he investigates, he realizes Levent is missing. Before he can make sense of it, Faisal video calls him. On the screen, Levent is tied up and held captive. Faisal coldly warns Hakan, if he wants to see his brother alive, he must not try any tricks. He must not bring the dagger. Instead, he is to collect his blood in a vial and come to the bridge alone now. After the video call ends, Zeynep arrives, and they all gather to discuss their next move. Hakan, filled with anguish, declares that he cannot lose his brother because he has already lost his entire family. The others try to reason with him, but he refuses to listen. In the end, they have no choice but to go along with his decision. After that, they reach the bridge. However, instead of Hakan, Faisal asks Ceylan to hand over the blood. As soon as she arrives, Levent makes an unexpected move as he keeps the talismanic shirt for himself, revealing that he was working with Faisal all along. His true goal had always been the shirt, not helping the protectors. Ceylan, shocked by his betrayal, tries to snatch the shirt from him. In the struggle, Levent accidentally stabs her in the stomach. She collapses, dying on the spot. Chaos erupts as gunfire breaks out. Hakan is hit in the shoulder, and before anyone can stop him, Levent escapes with the shirt, leaving them in turmoil. In the basement, the remaining loyal ones treat Hakan's wounds. When he regains consciousness, he learns that Ceylan is gone, Can is also dead, and there is no trace of Layla. Overwhelmed with grief and anger, he struggles to process everything. Meanwhile, Levent, now wearing the shirt, walks into a casino and robs the place. When a man tries to shoot him in retaliation, the bullet has no effect. Levent, proving his newfound invincibility, kills the man without hesitation and leaves with all the money. On the other side, Pere and Morgan try to control Layla's mind, but she refuses to obey. Frustrated, Morgan reminds her that she belongs to them now and must follow his commands. Faisal once again successfully revives Ruya. She comes back to life, overjoyed at her return. Meanwhile, Hakan searches for any trace of Levent. While wandering through the city, he unexpectedly meets a man who claims to know about Levent's past. He reveals that Levent had once been involved in a road accident, but in reality, his family's death was caused by his actions. He had always been a fraud, living a reckless life. A gang had burned down his house, killing his parents, while Levent was out indulging in his pleasures, completely unaware of the tragedy unfolding at home. Hakan contacts Zeynep, who has distanced herself from everything and is now focused on her studies. When he visits her, she initially refuses to talk. But when he tells her about Ceylan and Can's deaths, she becomes deeply saddened. Stepping outside, she listens to him as he explains the situation and pleads for her help. However, Zeynep blames him for everything, saying his obsession with revenge caused all of this. Hakan, hurt by her words, agrees that she's right. Zeynep then reveals that Levent must have some connection to the local bank because he could attack any bank, but he specifically uses that small bank for robbery. Hearing this, Hakan feels a glimmer of hope as Zeynep seems willing to rejoin the team, but she quickly shuts it down, saying she is leaving for Oxford for a research project and will never return. Frustrated, Hakan storms off. Hakan then calls Sardar, explaining the situation and asking for the bank manager's address. He provides the information, and Hakan arrives at the location, only to find Levent brutally torturing a man. It turns out to be the very person responsible for his parents' deaths. Hakan enters with a gun, but Levent smugly reminds him that bullets can't harm him because of the shirt. Hakan, however, isn't aiming for him because his focus is on revenge. Their argument turns into a violent brawl, with the bank owner seizing the chance to escape. Eventually, Hakan manages to subdue Levent. Later, while driving, Levent asks about the next step of the plan. Hakan states that they must capture and kill Faisal and rescue Layla from his grasp. Levent reassures him that now he will Hakan no matter what. Meanwhile, Layla is being brutally tortured by Pere and Morgan. They push her to her limits, breaking her spirit. Finally, Pere takes full control of her mind, leaving her completely unconscious. When Levent returns to the pharmacy basement, Azra is shocked to see him. Without hesitation, she points a gun at him, ready to shoot, but Hakan steps in from behind, trying to calm her down. He explains that Levent has changed as he's not the same anymore. Everything he did before was just to avenge his parents, but Azra refuses to believe him, accusing Hakan of being blind just because Levent is his brother. She insists that Hakan never hesitates to go against anyone, not even his allies, but eventually she falls silent. Later, Layla returns, surprising Hakan. Seeing her, he can't hide his relief and asks where she has been all this time. Layla reveals that the Immortals had captured her, but she barely managed to escape. She insists that they must find a truly safe place for her because, in the end, only Faisal has the right to decide her fate. Hakan instructs Levent to stay back and watch over Azra while he takes her outside for some fresh air. After some time, Hakan launches an attack on Faisal's house, but before he can get to him, Ruya comes, opening fire on Hakan. However, Hakan is wearing the talismanic shirt, making him invulnerable. Seeing the situation turn dangerous, Faisal and Ruya quickly escape. As they drive away, Ruya stops the car after reaching a safe site. She furiously blames Faisal for everything, shouting that all of this is happening because of him and that he still hasn't been able to kill Hakan. Overcome with anger, she forcefully takes Faisal's car and drives off, leaving him stranded. Hakan asks Layla if she is hiding something from him again. He reminds her that last time she kept secrets from him too, but Layla insists that it's different this time as she genuinely doesn't remember what happened to her. She promises that if she recalls anything, she will tell him. However, she is lying. Meanwhile, Azra goes to meet Zeynep, who is about to leave for London. But Zeynep refuses to listen to her and boards the bus, determined to leave everything behind. The next day, Layla receives a call from Piare, who asks about the task she has assigned. Layla bluntly says that she can't do it anymore and asks to meet her in person. Hakan overhears her conversation. Later, Layla and Piare meet at a secluded spot, but before they can talk, Hakan suddenly attacks Piare from behind. He violently stabs her in the chest, ensuring she doesn't survive. On the other hand, Zeynep changes her mind and returns after regaining some lost memories. She heads straight to the pharmacy basement and is shocked to see Levent there. She didn't expect him to come back. Levent then tells her about the reports he obtained on Faisal. He claims his source confirmed everything. To verify, Zeynep goes to check herself. When she arrives, Faisal notices her immediately but doesn't seem surprised. He calmly asks about Layla's condition and tells her that Layla is under someone else's control now. Faisal, however, says that he never intended to hurt Layla. He only wanted to bring his wife back to life, but things didn't go as planned. Zeynep sarcastically comments that Ruya must be proud of him, but Faisal disagrees. He bitterly reveals that Ruya took everything from him, his company, his power, even Layla. He then warns that an attack on Hakan is imminent. Alarmed, Zeynep rushes to the place where Hakan and Layla are staying, only to witness something shocking that Layla is attacking Hakan. He isn't even wearing his talismanic shirt for protection. Without hesitation, Zeynep intervenes, attacking Layla from behind. In self-defense, she stabs her, killing her instantly. Hakan is devastated. He falls to his knees, unable to process what just happened. Tears stream down his face as he struggles to comprehend everything. Zeynep, too, stands there in shock, overwhelmed and confused by what she just did. Hakan becomes completely isolated, lost in the thoughts of Layla. He doesn't contact anyone and refuses to meet anyone. In frustration, he throws his talismanic shirt and dagger into the fire, as if trying to rid himself of everything. Meanwhile, Zeynep tries to figure out where he might have gone. She eventually finds him on the rooftop of a building in the Grand Bazaar. She reminds him that he is the protector, responsible for safeguarding Istanbul. But Hakan, broken and hopeless, says that he couldn't even protect his loved ones. How can he protect the entire city? To reignite his spirit, Zeynep shows him a video where Ruya announces that Faisal's company is now investing in paramedical staff and medicine. She warns that this is part of their new plan. However, Hakan remains indifferent, saying he no longer cares. He leaves without another word. As he walks away, Zeynep picks up his dagger and shirt, noticing a strange mark forming on the fabric. Azra, curious about the symbol, opens an old book, but it provides no useful information. She then recalls that a surviving member of the family who originally crafted the shirt might have answers. Zeynep immediately insists they go find him, but before they can leave, she realizes her belongings have been stolen. As she looks around, she sees Hakan, who has taken them. Hakan calmly asks if Ruya is set to receive the formula that very night. Annoyed, Zeynep tells him they need to act fast, but Hakan insists on handling things alone, as he won't let anyone else die because of him. He pleads with her to trust him, just this once, and not follow him. Meanwhile, Ruya manipulates Levent into falling for her, securing his loyalty. Later, as she leaves her office, Hakan secretly follows her, but just as he is closing in, she suddenly disappears. Before he can react, he receives a call from Faisal. Faisal invites him for a final meeting. Hakan knows it's a trap but goes anyway, prepared for a fight. When he arrives at the location, Faisal ambushes him, blaming him for everything. He rants that Ruya left him because of Hakan and that he will now eliminate him and finally bring her back. Hakan challenges him, saying that if he truly believes he can win, he should release him from the trap and fight fairly. Spotting a loose bolt nearby, Hakan secretly removes it and frees himself. Without wasting a moment, he launches an attack on Faisal, and the two engage in a brutal fight. But Faisal manages to snatch Hakan's dagger and strikes at him. Hakan tries to defend himself, but the blade makes a small cut on his arm. For a moment, both men freeze in shock. Hakan is wearing the talismanic shirt. He shouldn't be injured. But when they look at his tattoo, it starts glowing. Faisal, clearly disturbed by what he just witnessed, steps back, fear creeping into his eyes. Overwhelmed, he panics and flees, leaving Hakan standing there, realizing that something far bigger is at play. Azra and Zeynep visit the last surviving craftsman who made the talismanic shirt. When he sees Hakan's tattoo, he immediately recognizes its meaning. He explains that the mark is a warning. When an immortal and a protector form a romantic bond, the protector's powers weaken, making him vulnerable. Azra and Zeynep are stunned by this revelation. They begin to piece things together and realize that Hakan's abilities have diminished because of Levent's relationship with Ruya, as he is also from the protector's bloodline. Meanwhile, Faisal witnesses Ruya and Levent together and rage consumes him. When he finally confronts Ruya, he admits that he has been blinded by love and has even set out to kill Hakan for her. But in reality, she had been using him all along. She sent Hakan after him while secretly getting close to Levent. Without a trace of guilt, Ruya tells him she feels no shame for what she did. When Faisal demands to know her true intentions, she coldly states that she plans to do what he is too afraid to accomplish. Then, without hesitation, she orders him to leave, threatening to call security if he doesn't. Humiliated and defeated, Faisal has no choice but to walk away. Meanwhile, Hakan infiltrates Faisal's building, with Zeynep following closely behind. But before she can reach him, Morgan spots her and captures her. Realizing she's in danger, Hakan rushes to help and strikes Morgan with the dagger. However, to his shock, the attack has no effect. Morgan easily escapes. Thinking quickly, Hakan and Zeynep manage to trap him inside a room before making their escape. They take refuge in the pharmacy, where Zeynep tends to Hakan's wounds. But their moment of respite is interrupted when Faisal enters. He doesn't seem aggressive this time. Instead, he claims he wants to help. Holding up the formula, he says he has come to give it to them. Faisal explains to Hakan that the formula is a deadly weapon, capable of drying up all living organisms, including plants. Ruya has been producing it on a massive scale using Levent's blood. Realizing the grave danger, Hakan decides to temporarily ally with Faisal. Just then, Levent calls. Hakan demands to know where he is and how he could betray his kind by siding with their enemies. Levent doesn't respond directly and instead tells him they must meet soon, promising to explain everything. As Hakan contemplates his next move, he realizes he must regain his shirt and powers. Zeynep suggests they should seek out the Oracle. When Hakan asks what the Oracle is, he learns that these were the ones who, through ancient studies, infused power into the talismans to fight against the immortals. Now they are the only ones who can restore that power. Hakan, Zeynep, and Faisal set out to find the Oracle. Upon meeting them, the Oracle uses the dagger and protector's blood to reawaken the talisman's energy. But before restoring Hakan's powers, she reveals that his guilt is holding him back. His regret over the innocent lives lost because of him is blocking his connection with the talismans. Until he lets go of this burden, the powers will not fully accept him. Later, as they leave, Zeynep reassures Hakan that those deaths were not his fault and he shouldn't blame himself. Determined to uncover the truth, Hakan goes to an old fortress where Levent has asked him to come. He remembers visiting this place as a child and knows its structure well. When Zeynep insists on going with him, Hakan refuses, knowing that if Levent senses a trap, he might not show himself, and they would lose their only chance to find the formula. Reluctantly, Zeynep agrees to stay behind. When Hakan and Levent finally meet, Hakan tries to reason with him, urging him to stop this madness, but Levent refuses, arguing that humanity is already doomed. Corruption and evil have consumed the world, just as they took his parents away. Hakan accuses him of thinking like an immortal, but Levent insists that the immortals are right, and humanity deserves its fate. He is tired of always being on the losing side. As tensions rise, the confrontation turns into a fierce battle. Despite his efforts, Hakan is eventually overpowered. Levent knocks him unconscious, leaving him vulnerable. Zeynep arrives just in time and helps Hakan regain consciousness. She informs him that Levent has already left. However, Hakan remains calm, revealing that this is exactly what he wanted. He had secretly placed a tracker on Levent's jacket, which would lead them directly to the formula's location. Zeynep is relieved, and at the same time, Hakan's powers are fully restored, stronger than before. With the location in hand, they immediately gather everyone and devise a strategy to infiltrate the site. Before heading inside, Hakan and Zeynep share a brief moment, acknowledging the battle ahead. Once inside, a fierce fight erupts. Amidst the chaos, Zeynep manages to knock Levent unconscious, and Hakan eliminates Morgan. Meanwhile, Faisal attempts to reason with Ruya, urging her to abandon this destruction and start anew. He assures her that it's not too late for them to leave everything behind and live peacefully. However, Ruya remains steadfast in her mission. At that moment, Hakan arrives, but before he can intervene, Faisal warns him not to make a move, or Zeynep will be killed. As Hakan prepares to attack, Faisal shoots Zeynep and escapes with Ruya. As Zeynep weakens, she urges Hakan to focus on stopping the Immortals rather than worrying about her. Struggling to breathe, she reminds him that they have already disrupted the Immortals' plan and tells him not to overthink. Despite her attempts to stay strong, she loses consciousness. Hakan, devastated, clutches her tightly, unable to hold back his tears. Meanwhile, Levent reaches the river, preparing to release the formula. Just as he is about to pour it into the water, the seventh and final Immortal fires a sniper shot at him. The screen fades to black, marking the dramatic end of Season 2.